If you own oil and gas, minerals, and royalties, chances are that you've received contact from someone in the past offering to buy them. Mineral buyers are absolutely everywhere, and the market for oil and gas, minerals, and royalties has exploded over the past decade. In part two of our series on the types of mineral buyers and who to avoid, we're going to be talking about the shale revolution and the birth of the professional mineral buyer. So stay tuned and learn something. Howdy folks, my name is Stephen Hatcher and I created The Minerals Guy to provide tailored content and resources to owners of oil and gas, minerals, and royalties with the goal of educating and empowering them to understand more about minerals as an asset class and the potential value of their mineral rights. In part one of our series on mineral buyers and who to avoid, we talked about the history of mineral buying and the knowledge arbitrage. You'll see a link to part one right up above. Today, we're going to be talking about mineral buyers in the modern era. We're going to be talking about the shale revolution and the birth of the professional mineral buyer. So let's jump in. In the mid-2000s, there was a rebirth of oil and gas exploration and production here in the US. And in the decades leading up to the shale revolution, US production had been in decline due to a lack of new discoveries of conventional oil and gas fields. Now, in the early 2000s, a few innovative, pioneering companies came up with the idea that if they applied the new technology of horizontal drilling with an older technology of hydraulic fracture stimulation, that they could unlock new reserves of oil and gas from shale formations. Now, the shale formations had always been there, right? And folks had drilled through and penetrated them with vertical wellbores. But up until this point, shales were never able to be produced in an economic fashion, right? So this discovery of horizontal drilling and hydraulic fracturing in shale formations set off a tidal wave of new energy production here in the US that we call the shale revolution. Now, by the mid-2000s, the world had changed. We had access to the internet. We had access to cell phones and computers and all the technological innovations that we've grown so accustomed to. And mineral owners began to get smarter about oil and gas production, right? They had access to state conservation commission websites, which provided information about oil and gas production in their area. They had access to new web forums that were being created so they could connect with other mineral owners in their communities and across the country. It was during this time that we began to see lease royalty rates increase from a historic 1/8 or 12.5% all the way up to 3/16, 20%, and in some cases even 25%. It was also during this time that lease bonus payments or signing bonuses granted upon execution of a lease began to increase, right? And in some areas they got absolutely insane, upwards of $10, $15, and $20,000 per acre. It was also during this time that huge amounts of capital began to flow to the oil and gas industry. And first, that capital flowed to operations, right? The exploration and production companies that were drilling for and producing these shale reserves. But it wasn't long before that capital began to realize the value proposition of acquiring and aggregating large blocks of mineral rights. And this is really when the professional mineral buying class was born. And these folks brought a level of integrity and honesty that just didn't exist in mineral buying prior to this time. The market for oil and gas minerals exploded as more buyers emerged and competition among those buyers began to grow. The market for oil and gas minerals today is orders of magnitude larger than it used to be in the past, right? And there are all sorts of legitimate buyers out there funded by all sorts of capital, right? Public companies, companies backed by private equity, companies that are privately funded by family office capital and high net worth individuals. And this means that if you own minerals today, you own a fairly liquid asset, similar to other assets that you may own on your personal balance sheet. And you have the opportunity to sell to one of these legitimate buyers and achieve a market value. Okay, folks, so let's wrap it up. So today we talked about mineral buyers in the modern era. We hope you'll join us for part 3. You'll see a link up above where we're going to talk about the types of mineral buyers, how to evaluate them, and red flags that can help you identify folks you should avoid. As always, if you enjoyed our content, please hit the like and subscribe buttons down below. This is incredibly helpful to us and allows us to get this content out to more folks. If you have any questions for us, you can reach us on our website, mineralsguide.com. You can also reach me by email, steven@mineralsguide.com. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon.